Welcome back to the Petroglyphs in the Sky Ultimate UFO Show. I'm your host, Jeff Woolwine. Hey, glad to see you guys all back, and do we have a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk about, some petroglyphs like we always do. We're going to talk about their meanings and interpretations. And, I found this one UFO video. It slips the location right offhand. I believed it was filmed in California, but where the location of it kind of slips my mind right now. But it's like thousands of them, thousands of these white orbs in the sky. And we're going to show that. We're going to talk about that. And speaking of which, today, those of you who have been following my Facebook page, you know that I posted some photographs, some still pictures of the video of an orb that we saw today. And matter of fact, we saw 3 sightings today. And one was out here in the parking lot, and then all of a sudden this other entity kind of flew to the left of us. I caught that on film. And then later on this afternoon, I'm sky watching. I'm looking out in the sky. Here comes another one, and it comes right over the apartment complex. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. And so yeah, man, it's going to be a great show. Make sure that you like and subscribe, not only to my Facebook page here, Petroglyphs in the Sky, but also my YouTube page. You can find me on the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky UFO show. And so yeah, all my shows and UFO videos and stuff like that is on that. So make sure you follow, subscribe, and please share the video. And so yeah, so let's get things rolling. But first, let's talk about our sponsors. Make sure that you go off and check out my book, Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky: True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, by Neely Worldwide Publishing. And so this is my first book. There's a second book, hopefully coming out soon. Been waiting for things to get done. And but this book here talks about the lost history of Phoenix, Arizona. Explains on what the Phoenix Lights really is, and what the Native Americans say it is, through the petroglyphs and through the true stories, myths, legends, and UFOs. And then with the photographs that goes along with the story, you'll soon realize that it's not just myths, that it's actually true stories. So yeah, make sure you go out there and check out my book. And all the proceeds I've instructed the publishers to give to the foster kids here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not out, to make any money off this like a lot of people do. I'm just out to get this information out and what's going on. So, also want to say, give a shout out to the Cyber Scans of Australia. A big shout out to my friend Sean. Right below this, the p9.hosting rod.com / petroglyphsinthesky.com / if that's too big, you can go to petroglyphsinthesky.net. And I just want to say thank you, Sean, for making that available to the public and helping me out with my website. So if you have any crimes, any cyber crimes that you want these guys to go check out for you, I highly suggest that you guys check these guys out. Okay, so you know what? In studying, the Native Americans and the history and things like that, I'm fascinated with it all. I love history, and like every year at the beginning of the year, in downtown Phoenix, they hold hoop dancings. The Native Americans go out there and do some hoop dancing. And I went out there one year and I actually filmed it. And I couldn't help but notice all the formations that these guys were doing with their hoops. For instance, they did the snake, and they did the orbs, and they did a lot of other formations that we're seeing in the skies today. And that's basically what these hoop dances is all about. Is they're mimicking, they're interpreting, they're showing you what these UFOs look like in the sky. And actually, you want to look at the attire. You want to look at the costumes of what the Native Americans are wearing also, because you'll see like red crosses and things like that, and you'll see like crooked snakes and just weird symbols. Well, those stuff is very significant on what we see in the skies today. It has everything to do with these, what some people would say gods, or there's other interpretations. We won't go into that right now, but it's not spaceships, it's not crafts that we're dealing with here. Sure, there might be crafts out there. I have seen some things personally that could represent a spaceship or a craft, but I think what the majority of the people are seeing today are these white orbs and these black orbs and these flying snakes and these weird looking creature things in the sky. Okay, and I was the first one to bring this to the UFO community back in 2005. I'm out there matching the petroglyphs to these things that we're seeing in Phoenix, Arizona. Not only Phoenix, but around the world. And I was the first one to match these creatures, these entities, with the petroglyphs on the rocks out there, these 1,000-year-old rock art. And, I did the pilot for the UFO Hunter show, which in turn went on to also go on to the Ancient Aliens TV show. I did the History Channel in 2007 and things like that. And, I was actually saying, look, man, this is another living being. This is a species that we're dealing with here. This is not technology. This was all new to the public. And it's still new. After all these years, it's still new to a lot of people out there. Because they're, all they think right now is technology, nuts and bolts technology, little gray guys running around. Hey, that's all fine. But you know what? There's also something else here. Okay? And a lot of people don't understand that when they see a light in the sky, when they see that light, they think it's a spaceship. They think it's like a craft. Okay? And I've seen these lights many times. I was actually brought up with these things. I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a native. And, while I was playing catch football with my dad out in my front yard, I was seeing these orbs in the sky. I was seeing these lights when I was a kid. So I've been seeing them almost all the time. I just didn't start filming them and actually studying them until 2004, when it really started to wonder, in my adulthood, what the hell is going on, dude? Everywhere I went, I was seeing these things in the sky. So it made me go on a quest, on a journey, to find out exactly what the hell was going on. I went into this thinking spaceships, little gray guys running around, technology, nuts and bolts. I'm coming away from this and still doing this, saying, look, this is something else. This is something completely different. This is another entity. This is another life form. One of my favorite sayings is, just as the oceanographers are finding new species of life below the ocean, this is a new species of life above the ocean that the scientists and a lot of these people in this field fail to recognize, or fail to exist, and fail to tell the public what's really going on here. And you can find out the history of Phoenix, Arizona, and what happened to the Hohokam, the Indians who carved these petroglyphs around the Valley of the Sun, in my book, on my website, and things like that. And so I was the first one to actually say, look, dude, these things are shape-shifting. They're changing shape. All right, it's not technology. They're like another creature. They're like, I don't want to go and say monsters, but some of them kind of look like it, dude. Like after all these years, dude, I'm getting people emailing me and messaging me with the exact same sightings. They're seeing flying serpents. They're seeing these creatures in the sky. And it's like now my work is finally coming into play here. You can search my name on the internet and find out all my history and stuff like that. I'm very credible on what I say. I've been saying this since 2005 when I first discovered these entities, and I continue to do it, and I continue to spread the word. And one of the things that really dawned on me was when we're discussing the Native American, the hoop dances. So let's take a look at some of these things here. So here's one, and let's take a look at this guy here. So he's holding these hoops, and when you look at the hoop dancing, you can see that they're doing like they're making these hoops into a lot of formations. Now this guy here is very significant because look what he's doing there. To us, he is holding an orb. He is holding an orb in the sky. He's actually hanging from the sky. There's actually a lot of petroglyphs out here in Phoenix, Arizona that depict men being carried away or being taken up in the sky by these orbs that we see in the skies today. And that's exactly what this Native American hoop dancer is portraying. This orb in his right hand, he's hanging on to this orb. And over here to his left, you can see another orb sitting there on the ground next to him. Now it's really hard to tell. Let's look at his costume. Let's look at his attire there. Let's zoom in on this guy. Now you can see right there, there's like some diamonds. You see that on his belt? You see those diamonds there? See how big I can get this. I can get it pretty big, look at that. You can actually see the diamonds there. Okay, I have filmed many diamonds in the sky, and there's many petroglyphs depicting these men, these stick figure human beings, looking up at flying diamonds in the sky. And that's exactly what this guy is portraying. Now look over here, look on his head. You see that? What the hell does that look like? Look at his headband. Let's look at his headband. Let's take a closer look at this guy's headband. What does that look like? Does that look like a phoenix light to you? It does to me. It is actually an orange amber light that we see in the skies today. You know, a lot of people, they see these orange amber lights, you know, in a formation, for instance, a triangle or an arc, such as the 1997 Phoenix lights. And they automatically assume that it's a spaceship, okay? They think that it's a spaceship, all right? They're not understanding yet that these lights are actually living entities. They know who's watching, they know who's not watching. They're getting away with being in the sky because people are overlooking these things. They see them in the sky, they think they're flares, they think they're airplanes, they just think, you know, they're not looking for these orbs. And this is what we need to start looking for. Not necessarily spaceships and crafts, but these living entities, these lights. Okay, and that's exactly what this guy is having on his head there. It is one of those Phoenix lights entities, if you will. Isn't that cool? That was really, really awesome, cool. It's a perfect example on how these Native Americans, man, they've been telling us, dude. They've been telling us all these years about these things in the sky. Okay? They've been telling us. All we have to do is sit there and listen. It's not, you know, them in a trance on peyote, seeing things in the sky. No, dude. This is real. This stuff is real. And this is what they were seeing in the skies and recording on the rocks. They didn't have video cameras back then. They had stone boulders to record their sightings in a certain places on where it took place at. This is the reason why when we look at the petroglyphs on some of these sacred mountains, is there's a lot of petroglyphs over here in this area, but there's no petroglyphs on the other area because nothing happened over there. It happened where the petroglyphs took place at. That is the sacred area. That is the area, that is the sighting. It's a prehistoric photograph of what took place in that area. Here's another guy. Let's look at this guy. It's hard to tell, but this guy is actually portraying a snake. You see how the hoops are? And he's dancing around, and he's got that tail, and he's actually a flying serpent. I have filmed many flying serpents in Phoenix, Arizona. There's many flying serpents carvings on South Mountain, and that's exactly what this guy is portraying with these hoops. Is he's making a snake, he's making a serpent, and he's dancing around, and then sometimes he actually looks like he's flying. He's flying in the sky. Much like what these Quetzalcoatl, the feather serpent, just like in Mexico, okay, we have the exact same thing that's happening here in the United States, in your neck of the world, neck of the woods also. This is happening in your backyard, all right? It's not from Alpha Centauri. It's not from another planet. It's happening here, dude. They are here among us. They've always been here. But the Hopis tell us, the Hopis say that we're in the fourth world. We're about ready to enter the fifth, okay? And each time the world changes, these entities, these creatures are here to help mankind to survive. That is the stories, the myths, the legends of the part of the creations that the Native Americans are telling us. And what if it's actually true? What if it's not a myth? Let's look at this at face value here. What if they're telling the truth, that every time, you know, the world changes, whether it's a pole shift, whether it's an ice age, whether it's fire or flood or anything like that, these things are here to help mankind to survive. I mean, that's where the Hopis learned how to weave their baskets at. One of the stories is Spider Woman weaved her web in the sky. And this is how the Hopis were able to weave their baskets. They learned from Spider Woman. That's just one story. Okay? So what if this is true? What if all this stuff is true? It makes you think when you really start seeing these things in the sky and you really start understanding the petroglyphs like I have done, and you've seen these things so many times, and you know, it just boggles your mind. Here's another guy. Look at this guy here. All right? He's holding an orb. He is holding a yellow orb. And those of you who have been following me know that I filmed the exact same orb last year. Those of you will recognize this yellow orb. Isn't that interesting? That is so cool. Here's another guy. So here is, what does this look like? Let's look at this. What is this guy doing? No, it's not the Mickey Mouse symbol. It's not Mickey Mouse with his ears. That's a triangle, man. Those are three orbs in a triangle. How many times have we actually witnessed this in the sky? How many times have you seen the exact same formation from other videos, you know, real videos, not computer-generated videos, but real videos of these creatures in the sky, of these orbs? Not some craft, not spaceships, not technology, but living entities. Each orb is a living entity. And I think a lot of people are just now starting to understand this, you know, that this is, you know, what if these aren't, you know, spaceships and crafts, okay? What if it's something else? And I'm here to tell you, yes, it is something else that is here. I've been doing this for over 20 years now. I've been seeing these things ever since I was a kid. I understood the petroglyphs. I was taught by a Native American how to read the petroglyphs, how to understand the petroglyphs. I sat by South Mountain for almost 3 years. I watched these things coming and going from South Mountain. This was all new to the UFO community. And I'm saying, look, dude, there's something else here, okay? It's not spaceships. Yes, there is something here, but it's not what a lot of people think, man. It's not crafts. It's not gray guys. Something completely different. Okay, so let's talk about these petroglyphs. Spirals. Spirals represent doorways. Okay? So here we have a doorway. And look where it's going at. It's going right there into the crack. You see that little crack right there? Okay? So look at the way the spiral is going. So spirals, all right, if a spiral is going clockwise, okay, it's a doorway in, all right? If the spiral is going counterclockwise, it's a doorway out. Now I've seen petroglyphs, I've seen these things, these two spirals that have a doorway in and a doorway out. All right, and it depends on which way the spiral ends at. So if it ends down, and 9 times out of 10, look at that, it's ending at that crack. You see that? It's oriented towards that crack on the rock, on the stone there. You see that? That is the doorway. That is the emergence point to the underworld, where these spirits reside at. These spirits of the earth and sky. Now, to the Native Americans, you know, and all these other cultures, it's to the underworld. You know, in Mexico, they have, you know, there's beings to the underworld and things like that. But on a scientific level, when we look at it scientifically, what is so significant to these mountains, to these spots around the earth that attracts these entities? What is the purpose of this? Well, when you actually look at where these doorways are located at, where these sacred spots around the earth is located at, where these things gather at, you'll understand that they're going after the energy, the fault lines. Whether it's a fault line made from a volcano or made from a mountain, or whether it's man-made energy such as nuclear facilities or a power plant that's borrowing down into that fault line. Okay, I have seen these Phoenix lights on the east side of South Mountain in 2004. The whole summer of 2004, I witnessed these lights over that power plant on Ray Road. All right, when you look at my website, you can see the locations. I've mapped out these areas over the years on where you can see these entities in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, so I want you to go out there and check it out for yourself. You know, if you can't get to the mountain on your own, then I bring the mountain to you through my book, through my website. All right, it's all there, and everything is credible. Everything has been backed up. Okay, not only from the field work that I've done, the 15, 17 plus years of research I've done on South Mountain, but also investigating the real history of South Mountain and Phoenix, Arizona from the library department that hasn't been talked about in 80 years. So those of you who've been watching the show, I know what I'm talking about, and you can actually find out some of that information on my website. But you know, I don't want to get off topic. But so let's talk about these spirals. Okay, so it's going into that crack. It's oriented into that crack. That is the doorway, all right, for these entities. And look what it's doing. It's going counterclockwise. So what does that tell us? It tells us that it's a doorway out. Okay, and when we look at this, look at these creatures coming out of the door. Okay, over here to the upper left, we see an orb. See that orb there? Over here to the right, on the bottom right, you see a guy. All right. Now we know he's a normal guy. Okay, because there's nothing special about him. He's not an anthropomorph. Okay, he's not morphing into anything. He's just a regular man. All right. His hands are down. All right. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on the significance with his arms being down. Because normally his arms will be up in the appeasement pose. We'll talk about that later. So let's go over here to the left. Now look at these worms over here on the far left. Okay, you see that? Look at that U-shaped thing. Those of you who have known, who have been following me for the last 20 years, know that I have filmed that. See that that U? See that U petroglyph looking thing? See that U? Okay, that is one of those worms or those serpents. I have filmed the exact same thing in the sky. It happened Easter Sunday. I believe it was 2007. I can't remember right now, but you can go back on my YouTube page. You can go back on my Facebook page. You can see it on my website. It's Easter Sunday. All right? You can see on how this thing changes shape into a U. Okay? Over here to the left, we have this circle with a dot over here. All right? And that's one of those orbs that's got this dot in the middle. Now, those of you who have been filming these lights know that when you film them, sometimes there's like this black dot in the middle of the light. Well, that's exactly what this petroglyph is depicting here, is that dot that we see when we record these things. When we see them, we see that black dot. Now look at these lines coming down from him. You see that? It's kind of morphing. He's kind of changing like into a man, or he's kind of acting like he's growing arms and legs, things like that. Isn't that interesting? That's exactly what they do. I have filmed the exact same thing. Here we go with the barbells. Many barbells have been seen in Phoenix, Arizona, and continue to this day. And the Native Americans, they carve these barbells all over South Mountain. It seems like it's the serpents, it's the flying serpents, and the barbells that I saw a lot of petroglyphs depicting these entities. Now, I've seen this one petroglyph, it's in my book, where this barbell is like in the air kind of, or he's on the ground. It's really kind of hard to say. It's against this, it's carved on this wall. There's a man inside this barbell, and he's looking out through a window. Now, a lot of people would interpret that as like a spaceship, like a craft. Okay, and there's a man inside this craft, inside the barbell. All right. Watching these things, seeing them for all these years, I'm convinced, and studying the glyphs, I'm convinced this is not a craft. What this barbell is actually doing, it's absorbing itself around this man. Okay, so this barbell comes down and he absorbs the guy. Okay, so the guy is now inside this barbell, inside this entity. Okay, and it's not a biological entity. They don't bleed, all right? They don't have guts and skin and stuff like that, dude. But it's some kind of supernatural entity, and it absorbs this guy. And then it takes these people, these Indians, these people up into the sky. So look at this barbell here. Now look at the energy. You see that extra line around that? Many times we have seen the exact same type of energy when a lot of us film these UFOs, these entities in the sky. You can see it when we're videotaping it. You can see the energy. And a lot of people say, well, okay, so why do these crafts, or why do these UFOs have lights on them? Well, I believe it's the energy, okay? It's the energy that they're collecting, and it's part of them. That's just how they are. Look at the fireflies. The fireflies have lights on them, okay? And I just think that's what these, lights, these phoenix lights, and all these other, creatures we see in the sky, these entities, that's just, it's just them, dude. They're absorbing the energy. They're sucking up that energy from the fall lines, from the energy around the earth, and it's just, they're like plasma energy, right? That's what they look like, just like with the Phoenix lights. We had all these lights in a row on the west side of Phoenix, Arizona. A lot of people thought that there was a craft there, and there was a lot of people that said, oh, it went over Phoenix, but actually those lights were only on the west side there, and they were absorbing the energy. Those orange amber lights, they're absorbing the energy. They're turning white, they're turning red, they're turning amber, all right? They're changing colors, they're plasma, they're absorbing the energy, and they're lighting up, dude. And that's exactly what this barbell petroglyph is describing. It's talking about the energy that it's absorbing. And then over here to the right of it, we see another petroglyph there also. Oh, I'm sorry, another barbell. Of course it's a petroglyph, dude. What the hell, man? It's another barbell. Here we have another barbell. This one's really cool. Okay, so it's the exact same type of entity, type of being. And that's what these creatures look like. It's like a different type of, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say a race, or whatnot. But these things have always been here. They're just as man is higher than the animals. These things are higher than man. Okay, they have always been here. I'm gonna give you a little secret. This is their world too. Okay, they're not from another planet. They're not from Alpha Centauri. They're not from Mars. All right, they're from here. They're from good old Mother Earth. This is their planet also. A lot of people don't realize this. A lot of people can't accept this. But studying them, watching them, understanding the history, I can tell you that it's my opinion, that these things have always, they have always been here. They've been here before man, and probably be here after man, and but we won't get into that again. We won't get into that, at least right now. So look at this here. So, a lot of people say, oh, there's a line, dude, that's a balloon. Well, why the hell are the Native Americans, carving balloons? I'll never get over this, dude. This is how these things are getting away with being in our skies. People see these things, and just because they act like a balloon, or just because they have this line coming down from them, I mean, come on, dude. You've been through 3rd grade before. You know what balloons look like, dude. Come on now. This is not strings. Why would the Native Americans be carving balloons, all right, when balloons wasn't even around 1,000 years ago, all right? This is not depicting a balloon, but to us, it looks like a balloon, and that's what it looks like, a balloon in the sky, and that's how these entities are getting away with it, because people are looking up into the sky, they're seeing these orbs, they're seeing these entities, they're seeing these things, and they dismiss them as balloons. And I think it's time to stop. We know what balloons look like. Balloons don't, stay motionless in the sky. Balloons do not, just sit there like in the sky with the clouds going past them and the orb sitting there, and this orb is not moving with the clouds, with the air, but it's in the same, atmosphere as the clouds, but the orb is still there, but people think, oh, dude, that's a balloon, dude. But why isn't it moving with the wind? You know what I'm saying? It's going across the sky. It's not going up. It's not bobbing up and down, things like that. Come on now. God, how many times we got to talk about balloons? I'm so sick of it. Aren't we adult enough? Aren't we old enough to understand what balloons look like now? But because people are thinking another way, they're dismissing what's really here. And that's what pisses me off. They're dismissing, oh, that dude's filming balloons. Oh, that dude's filming flares. It's spaceships we're looking for. It's crafts. It's great eyes. So, there's a lot of petroglyphs depicting this here on South Mountain. These petroglyphs here are not on South Mountain. I don't believe. I don't believe, no, these aren't on South Mountain. But this glyph here is very important. So look at this guy. Okay, so a lot of people, a lot of interpretations on this carving here is that this is a lizard man. Okay? And because he's got that tail, you see that tail on the bottom there? That's not a tail, that's this line, okay? And those lines that people think that are strings from balloons, that is not the case. When you study the petroglyphs, when you look at the petroglyphs, you will see that these lines emerging from these orbs, from these other things, are actually a type of, I don't know, mechanism, I don't know, some kind of thing, line that comes out of them, and it's picking deers up, it's picking coyotes up, it's picking people up, picking mankind, picking man up into the sky and carrying them off. That is what these lines are doing. Okay? Now you see that belly in the middle? That is the orb. That is the orb that we are seeing in the skies today. Okay? The Native Americans say that these things, that these entities, these spirits shape shift. That's exactly what they're doing. First it's an orb. First it's a round belly like that. And now he's morphing. He's what the archaeologists like to say, anthropomorphing. He's changing. He's changing. He's looking like a man. He's flying in the sky. He's an orb. All of a sudden he's growing arms. He's growing legs. He's growing a head. Here comes that tail that comes down and picks up animals and takes them off into the sky. This is what the petroglyphs are depicting. So when you see that line, when you see that tail, it's not a tail, it's some kind of line, some kind of pole. I don't know what it is, but it's coming down from these things, picking people up. There's a lot of, I've filmed some, like 2 orbs, right? And they're next to each other, but all of a sudden this line will join next to each other, and it will form into a barbell. It'll be a barbell formation up there. And I think, what if, they're kind of, interacting with each other, or they're absorbing each other's energy. They're connected together. They're now a barbell. First, there were two separate orbs. Out comes these lines. They connect together. Now they're a barbell. This right here, it's an orb in the sky, and it's morphing. It's changing into a man, or what looks like a man, because that's what these things do. These things like to shape shift. Okay, they take the shapes of serpents, of snakes. They take the shape of, the Quetzalcoatl, the flying serpent. My wife and I, Pam, we're out there on South Mountain, and we saw Quetzalcoatl. He came out of a light. There was a light in the sky right above South Mountain. You can search this on my website. It's called Quetzalcoatl, all right? He came out of this light. Out from this bright light in the sky came this black thing from this vortex, from this door. And what did he do? He morphed into a snake. He was Quetzalcoatl, and he was just ascending over the mountains there. He was gliding over the mountains. He was changing shape. He was doing neat stuff. He was in control. He knew what he was doing. He knew who was looking at him, who wasn't looking at him. He obviously knew that we were watching him. My wife Pam, she's freaking out. She's got a better look at him. She's watching him through the binoculars. She's freaking out, saying, "Oh my God, it's a snake! It's a snake! It's a snake!" And then as this thing goes across the sky over the hills, it starts to change, dude. It changes into a man. All right, it's a stick figure man, and he's got his hands on his hip like that, and then out comes these two antenna-looking things, dude. Exactly what we're seeing on the rocks today, carved over 1,000 years ago. I filmed it. We saw it. We verified it. This is why I call this information petroglyphs in the sky. It's because that is what we're dealing with. I think we need to take a second look and study this rock art a little bit more to understand what is going on in our skies today. I don't know how many times I've been saying this. It's a prehistoric photograph of what's going on here. Here we have a spiral, and look at this. See the orb coming out of the spiral there? And look, it's going counterclockwise. It's ending down. So right there at the bottom there, that crack, is probably the doorway, the entrance point. All right. If the spiral is ending up, then it's a doorway. It's a vortex in the sky. I verified this. I've seen it. I was told by a shaman, Native American on South Mountain. He taught me all these petroglyphs. All right. Over here to the left, look at that. We have a regular guy. We know he's a regular guy. He doesn't have a tail. He doesn't have an orb in his belly. He's looking at these things in the sky. Look at that. You see that? That is a prehistoric UFO sighting, people. That's a prehistoric UFO sighting. That's a 1,000-year-old carving of what we're seeing in the skies today. They didn't have video cameras back then. They had these stone boulders, man. It's not just a story, dude. They're telling us, they're showing us, they're depicting, they're drawing out their UFO sightings. This one's really going to be really hard to see. But here we have this guy here. Okay, so he's attached to this spiral. All right, so the spiral, he's interlinking with this spiral, with this doorway. He's going in to that doorway. See that? He's got a tail, so we know it's, not a regular man. He's got a little bit of a belly there, it's hard to tell, but there is a little bit of a circular body there. But he's really morphing into a man, and he's going into this doorway. See that? Into that spiral doorway. Okay, we got a lot of petroglyphs, so we're going to have to hurry up on this. I'm running out of time. Okay, so here we go. Here, remember I was telling you that these orbs have these lines that were connected together. You see that? See that? Making a barbell. See those lines? Okay? See those lines? Now, why would the Native Americans be carving balloons? Why would that be balloons, dude? To us, it looks like balloons, don't it? But to the Native Americans, that is what they're seeing in the sky. So how are they seeing balloons and carving balloons 500 to 1,000 years ago? Come on now. That's my whole point. You see those lines, you see that circle with the line, and people assume that that is a balloon. Okay, so a good friend of mine, Doug Weatherby in Phoenix, Arizona, he asked me about this petroglyph here. Okay, and he was wondering if that was like these entity lights, I believe, over here to the left, or if that was like a barbell. You can actually see, so this is like a moose or a deer, okay? And so this deer, he's looking up at a sun over here to the right. Okay, we know that's a sun, all right, because it's got sun rays coming from it. All right, just like with us, when we draw a sun, so did the Native Americans to depict suns. So that's a sun over there to the right. Over here to the left, now you see that circle with the dot with the rays. Now that is not a sun, okay? It's got a dot in the middle. That's what you want to look for. That's how you can distinguish the two. There's a sun to the upper right above the moose, and then to the bottom, to his left, behind him, there's an orb. Okay, because he's got that dot in the middle. All right, that is one of those UFOs. That is one of the orbs that we see, and it's a light. It's bright. That's what he's depicting, because those lines are coming out of it. See that? See how those lines are coming out of it? So that's how we know that it's not a regular sun, because it has a dot in the middle, and it's shiny. It's bright. It's lighting up. Okay, and that's what the artist wants us to realize. That's what he's telling us. And it's over another deer. Now, to the top there, look at that. You see these two, looks like barbell-looking things? And look at that one on the bottom. It's kind of growing legs. You see that? And it's got this line attaching to the other one. All right? That is these entities. Both those two entities, those are separate beings there. And they're connecting together. It's a trip. I know, dude. I know. They're anthropomorphing. They're changing shapes. They're morphing. All right? And that's what these things are doing in the skies, man. That's exactly what the Native Americans were trying to tell us. That they're morphing. They're shape-shifting. They're shape-shifters. All right? They're coming in and out of doorways. They're going into the underworld. Energy spots to us. They're following the seasons. This is what the light and shadow markers have to do all over the world. Look at Stonehenge. We see the equinox. The light and shadow markers. All these other tombs and sacred places around the earth. That is aligned with the equinox and the solstice and the virtual equinox and all this stuff. And the archaeologist wants us to believe, well, it's just simply telling them that it's time to plant corn. Man, that's bullshit, dude. That's not what they're doing. That's not what they're telling us. They're telling us, look, now is the time. They're following the seasons. These entities, these gods are following the sun. Whenever the sun gets in the right position of these fault lines, it attracts these beings to these sacred spots, to these energy spots, to absorb the energy. When the sun moves across the sky during the seasons, the entities follow them. So this is the reason why, like in California or Arizona, we see a lot of them. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, right? And then all of a sudden, after the equinox or after the solstice, they're kind of gone, dude. Where are they now? They're over there in Florida. They're over there in Israel. They're over there in Iraq. They're over there in Russia. All right? And then after the equinox, after the solstice, after the changing of seasons, now they're back over here with us now. All right? It's a pattern. It's a pattern. Once you figure out that pattern, then you'll be able to understand and predict on how to see them, when to see them, what time to see them. All right? I learned all this on my own. I sat by South Mountain for almost 3 years, and I watched these things constantly, and I noticed that they were really heavy on certain months, and then they were kind of light on other months, and then it repeated itself. The first year it was cool. Second year it repeated itself. Third year, oh my God, there was more of them, but it was repeating itself, dude. This has been going on since the beginning of the time. This is a secret. And once you understand their pattern, once you understand their secret, that's when you want, that's when you can, figure out exactly what is going on here. Okay, so make sure that you like and subscribe to my petroglyph, to my Facebook page, and make sure you check out my YouTube channel, the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky, and share this video, and make sure if you have any petroglyphs that you want me to look at, any UFO sightings, send them to me. I'd love to see it. So let's take a small break, and then let's get into these UFO sightings.
Have you picked up your Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, Volume 1? Learn about the lost history of Phoenix, Arizona. Learn about the petroglyphs carved on a sacred mountain, now known as South Mountain, that holds the pass to the Phoenix Lights and the UFOs over Phoenix. Pick up your copy today. Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, True Stories, Myths, Legends, and UFOs over Phoenix, Volume 1. Find it on eBay, Barnes & Noble, and any source where books are available at.
This is case number 97202, Arizona Lights.
Something is in the sky and something is happening, and I'll go to my death knowing that what I saw was true.
Thousands of people all over Arizona saw something that night.
I believe the Phoenix Lights are real.
I thought, wow, I'm just seeing things that most people are never going to see in a lifetime.
March 13th, 1997. The skies above Arizona ignite.
Major sighting here.
Fiery globes seen by thousands.
They started multiplying. One light became two lights, a third.
Lights in the sky over Phoenix are nothing new. Carved into these mountain rocks are ancient clues that the Hohokam Indians may have seen UFOs more than 1,000 years ago. Is there something about this area that attracts these objects? Pat meets Jeff Woolwine, a UFO researcher at the foot of the White Tank Mountains. These hills are riddled with petroglyphs, rock art carved into the landscape primarily by the Hohokam, a Native American people who lived here from 200 BCE, 1800 CE, and then mysteriously disappeared.
Clearly, the Hohokam were seeing things in the sky as we're seeing now, strange objects, strange lights, if you will. They didn't have video cameras back then. They had stone boulders to record something significant, something to remember in history. They wanted to copy this down so people would understand what had happened here.
Pat and Jeff hiked to the spot where strange petroglyphs have been found. Among the petroglyphs is an image Jeff believes to be significant.
You'll notice this interesting line here. It has a black hair, a black hair, a black hair, and a line. In today's world, what we like to call them is barbells.
Barbell-shaped UFOs, like this one videotaped over Phoenix on January 24th, 2005, are well known to modern researchers. It's possible that local tribespeople were inspired to record their own sightings on these very rocks nearly a millennium ago.
And when you say barbell, you mean a barbell-shaped UFO?
while Jeff's interpretation is a personal one. Even government experts who have studied the petroglyphs for years have difficulty explaining some of the images.
Okay, so let's get into these UFO sightings real quick, because we're running out of time. And so yeah, so let's look at this one like fleet. Okay, so if this was balloons, let's look at this. If this was balloons, then you know, at least what 1,000 people must have released these balloons all at the same time. Now let's study this stuff. Let's study these things. Let's look at what they're doing here. Okay, they're kind of moving information there, all right? And then some of them there, look over there in the, like the middle left, some of them are like kind of like drifting, like moving away from each other, all right? And they're going in opposite directions, okay? That's a really neat sighting. I believe this was filmed in California. I could be wrong, but you know, once I saw this video, I was just really impressed. I have seen pretty much the exact same things in Phoenix, Arizona. These things just started popping up above my head, and I got video of them. I had a little camera with me. I did the best I could, but I did film it. It wasn't as many as these things. I think I saw about maybe 50 or 60 orbs that just appeared above my head there. Look how these things are moving. Some are moving, you know, away from each other. Some are moving in different directions of each other, which means, you know, that these are not balloons. They're completely in control, all right? They're not drifting in the wind, because if they were, then they will all be going in the same direction as the wind current. And if these things were balloons, then they would be drifting with the wind together and acting like balloons. But these things, you know, are not. Okay? This is what we're dealing with in our skies today. This is what we can verify. And that's what I go with. I go with what I can prove. I go with what I can verify. Okay? I go with what I have seen for my own self. Okay? I go with what the petroglyphs talk about. I go with what these scrolls that have been written anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 years ago, and it talks about these things, man. It tells exactly what these things are that we're seeing in the skies today. But a lot of people just dismiss that. They don't understand. They completely don't look at that. You know, they think it's something completely different, and they just don't want to, you know, admit that, you know, wait a minute, it is telling us what we're seeing today. And just because it doesn't, you know, go along with their beliefs, they dismiss it. They push it aside. Oh, well, it's not spaceships, it's not crafts, blah, blah, blah. So it can't be credible, it can't be real. But when you look at all the stories around the world, you know, when you look at what they're writing down, when you look at the art carved on the rocks, and that was one of the things that really got to me that was credible, is where we can read the stuff on these scrolls, and then we can go out to the Native American rock art, and we can see the photographs. Because the photographs, the petroglyphs, the rock carvings, are talking about these things coming down from the heavens, these things coming up from the ground, these spirits of the earth and sky. It talks about the sacrifice that was going on. It talks about the giants. It talks about the Nephilim. And they're photographs. They're prehistoric photographs of the exact same thing. So how are people, you know, like building pyramids? You know, Egypt's building pyramids, and Mexico's building pyramids, and somebody over there 6,000 years ago is talking about orbs in the sky and things and red lights in the sky, and the Indians over here on this side of the world are carving orbs and flying serpents and things and lights in the sky. So and they don't even know that one another exists. So how is this possible? How is all these tribes around the world who is in no contact with each other whatsoever describing the same thing? How is that possible, dude? You can't deny the evidence. It's all happening all at the same time. Each tribe saw and recorded in their special way of, to us, UFO sightings and what happened, because they dealt with them. They actually made contact with these things. Okay, these things came down and were communicating somehow with the man, with people. We'll go into that later. We don't have a lot of time. Okay, so let's take a look at what I filmed today and what Pam and I saw today. This is really cool. Now, there's two sightings on here. This is from, this is 1:30. This is the second sighting. And you can see that orb there. This was going right over my apartment complex. Right over me. This was today at 1:38 p.m. And you can see how this orb is cruising. It's just kicking ass through the sky. And yeah, that's me moving around with the camera, trying to get it steady. I do eventually, you know, get it steady there. And you can actually see on how this thing is cruising. It is cruising through the sky. It is going fast. And I love it. I love it when clouds are in the sky when we're filming these things. Is because you can get a good idea on how fast it's actually moving. You know, you can get a good indication on how fast this thing is going. Look how fast that thing is moving. This was filmed today at 1:38. This was going over my apartment complex. It's coming right at me. It's coming from the west, or excuse me, from the east, and it's heading west. It's not an airplane. It's not a balloon, okay? Because I did zoom in on the thing, and you can actually tell that it's not anything man-made. All right, it's not blinking with the anti-collision lights from an airplane. It's one of these creatures. It's one of these orbs. Right? It's not a spaceship. Right? It's not a craft. But it's a living being. It's a living entity. Right? A lot of people don't understand this yet. It's a living creature. It's like another animal, if you will. It's very intelligent. It knows who's watching, who's not. That's how they're getting away with being in our skies, is because they don't cast any shadows. They don't make any noise. You have to be ready. You have to have a video camera with you at all times. Not a cell phone, because cell phones just don't capture the moment. You know, cell phones, you know, just you can't zoom in very well. You know, so you want to have a video camera with you at all times. That's what I do every time I go out. I always take a video camera with me, because you never know what you're going to see in the sky. You want to be ready for it, just like a Boy Scout. You always want to be prepared, or a Girl Scout. You always want to be prepared. You always want to be ready, because you never know when these things will appear. You know, so carry a video camera with you all the time. I used to have a fanny pack, and I still do have a, like a fanny pack, and I like this bag, and I carry the camera in the bag, with me. I put it in the car when we leave. Everywhere I go, we take a video camera with us, because you just never know. And I learned through, mistakes, because I've gone out without my camera, and oh my God, dude, there would be a great one in the sky, and I didn't have anything to record it, so I've missed out in a lot of sightings, recording them, because I just didn't have a video camera. Look at that thing. It's still cruising. It's still going on, man. It was a long sighting. Eventually when it got over my head, I had trouble, filming it. So I did the best I could until it was like almost completely over my head. And it was still cruising, so. Yeah, there it is. You know, sometimes for a minute I actually thought it stopped in the sky, and I really couldn't tell, you know, because you know to me it looked like it stopped because there wasn't any clouds around, and that's what I was actually, you know, basing how fast it was moving because of the clouds. Okay, so this next sighting here, this happened at 10:35 in the morning. This is a good one here. Here's a photograph. Here's a still photograph of what we're looking at. And then all of a sudden Pam's like, oh, there's another one. So I went over there and I started filming that one. And look what that was. That was some kind of shape-shifting like UFO type of entity. And it was just cruising. And then I went back to this orb. And it was just hanging there. I mean, it wasn't moving. You can see in the video on how the clouds are moving east. Okay? You can see how the clouds are moving. You know, and this thing is kind of going against the wind. Is going against what the clouds are doing. See that thing? See how it's just kind of sitting there? I mean, the clouds are moving, but that thing is just sitting there. It's not going up like a balloon would do. You know, it's not doing anything even looking like a balloon. If it was, it would be following, because it's at the same height as these clouds, and the clouds are clearly going away from this thing. This thing is actually, you know, kind of, I don't know if it's fighting the clouds, but it's actually, you know, it's the wind is pushing the clouds to the east, and this thing is just sitting there. If it was a balloon, then it would be going with the clouds, but this thing is just sitting there in the sky. Look at that. Is that crazy or what? Look how he's just sitting there. This is what we want to look for. Okay, we want to look for these orbs. We want to look for just things that are just out of the ordinary. Okay, things that are changing shape, that are like kind of morphing, you know, and they're lights. They're big bright lights. Okay, not flashing lights that go repetitiously. Okay, because blinking lights, you know, that flash in a pattern, okay, that's man-made. That's a drone. That's a helicopter. That's a plane. All right, so anything that strobes like that is man-made. Okay, things that just flash in the sky, you know, or continually are bright in the sky, you know, that's what we're kind of looking for. And you want to make sure that it's not an oncoming airplane jet. All right, because these jets do have headlights in front of them. All right, so sometimes, you know, a lot of people mistake this. There's a jet coming right at them, and it has this big, huge spotlight on the front, and they think that it's a UFO because it's actually coming towards them. So it looks like it's not moving, but actually it's coming towards you. Okay, and it's blinking, it's flashing, it's got the anti-collision lights. So you want to stay away from repeatedly blinking lights, things like that. But this stuff here is what you want to look for, is these orbs. And it was there for a long time. it did end up changing direction, and there is a mountain to the right there to the north of it. Here's that one. This is the 1:30 p.m. and this is the beginning of the video. This one coming right over my apartment. We'll show this again real quick. That's me moving around the camera trying to get it straight. Okay, look at that thing. Look at that thing cruising, man. Look how fast that thing is moving across the sky. Isn't that something? Isn't that neat? Is that crazy or what? That thing is moving across the sky. Look at that. Look how fast that thing is moving. It's kind of, it was kind of hard to keep up with. That's why I'm kind of moving around on the camera, because it's going so fast. It's coming right in my direction. Look how that thing is just flying. That thing is going fast. That thing is cruising. That thing is just going so fast. Okay, I think we're pretty much out of time here. And so I just want to say, thank you guys for watching and for tuning in. Make sure that you share and like the video, and tell your friends about it, and make sure you subscribe and find me on Facebook, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Jeff Woolwine. Find me on YouTube, the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky. Subscribe, and if you guys have a UFO sighting or anything like that, or a petroglyph you want me to take a look at, make sure that you email me, you message me on Facebook, and so yeah, I just want to say thanks again, and we'll see you guys next time.
until the next exciting episode, keep your eyes in the skies. You never know what you might see.